What's up, everybody? Today we have, I'm kind of honored about this one too. Mike
Really?
Boganowski. I'm honored. I am honored. Mike Boganowski, father of Michael Boganowski, freshman, soon to be monster safety, the boogeyman, Baba Yaga. Mike, how's it going, sir?
I can't complain. Very blessed. Anxiously waiting football season. I haven't been this excited for a football season in a long, long time.
24 days. We got 24 days until kickoff.
Yes, sir.
Well, man, I appreciate you joining here. And before we start, I got to do the self promo stuff. So, you guys, if you're watching this content, hop down in the comments. Let us know what you think about the interview. This is an opportunity for us to get a little bit know about the family. But hit that like, hit the subscribe, and then share it because sharing is caring. And so, Mike, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Whenever we have, children who show any athletic prowess, the we start as parents to start to kind of go, man, I see a little something here. And so, you may see a John Lynch or, just a monster safety in your son. It doesn't always turn out that way. So when was the first time that you were like watching Mike and you were just like, oh man, I think I got myself a football player.
Yeah. I think I told the story with Sooner Legend. Um, First time I ever hopped on a pod, but I was stationed in at Fort Benning, Georgia. At the time, it was named Fort Benning. Now it's Fort Moore. That's Columbus, Georgia. So we signed up for football. I believe it was his kindergarten year. So we played in the Columbus Youth Football League for the Eastway Cherokees, and I think the first time he put on pads and there was some tackling going on, he kind of blew up a kid, and I was like, huh. I'm like, he ain't scared of tackle. He ain't scared of contact. And that was my first little like spider sense going off. You're like, wait a minute now, I see that. And then just as the year progressed, when he was in kindergarten, I mean, like how much stock can you put in the kindergartners? They're out one here, looking over here, kept trying to pick dandelions one minute and looking at flies,
Yeah,
but he always had a knack for the ball. At that age, a lot of deception, maybe a reverse or something like that is an automatic touchdown. You know what I
yeah,
mean? If you can pull that off, but he always had that he sniffed it out, and it just to me at that age, what I don't know how old that is. I mean, what 7, 8, maybe. Um, it was always remarkable to me that he could just see it and he just sniffed it out all the time. He's got a knack for the ball.
now where does he get the athletic background? Is that from you? Is that from mom? What was your background?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I was a three sport guy up in Nebraska, up in the Omaha metro area. I went to Bellevue West, same high school as Caden Helms.
Yeah,
Um, I was a three sport guy. I was an all state football player. Did well at basketball. I was just a 6'4" center. A big guy. Wasn't doing anything much after high school, but I held my own.
yeah,
Um, really loved baseball, liked playing baseball, but football was better at football, and they get first crack at you coming into your senior year, and so football. I mean, obviously, that was my best sport, but I really love baseball. My wife, she is a college tennis player. Um, she originally she's from Trinidad and Tobago, down in the Caribbean, and she played tennis at Grambling State University.
okay.
So there's some athletic background from her too.
Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. And I
Not that
heard
mix.
that I hear that you're a little bit of a frisbee golfer. Is that a false rumor or is
Never done that.
okay?
Never
Okay,
frisbee golf. I love golf now. Don't get
okay.
me wrong.
Maybe maybe that was. I heard you were a golfer and you could spin it, so I just went frisbee golf, but that's not technically a sport.
Yeah. No, I've never. I think my shoulders are too bad for that. I don't know how long I can last that long.
So,
No, 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 no.
so Michael's, you see him as a kindergartner, those things start, he starts showing out, he shows some athletic ability. When did you guys decide as parents to, start fostering that athletic ability and that football capability?
Um, you know, my kids, they play all three sports: basketball, baseball, football. I got three boys. Went 3 for 3. Very lucky. But they don't have a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're playing basketball, baseball, and football. They're not going to sit at home, play video games, and be on their
yeah,
phone. Um, so I've always fostered that. Like it's just a way of life
yeah.
in the Boganowski household. But, when we moved to Kansas, we were playing a team out of Salina, Kansas, the home of
Hmm.
BB, home of the great Brett Venables. And one of the coaches come up to me afterwards and he's like, he didn't know it was my son running the ball because Mike played running back. He was pretty good at the time, pretty good running back. And he told his team like, "Hey, you guys just played a Division I running back." And I'm like, "Dude, these dudes are in 6th grade. Like, what are you talking about?" You know what I mean? I'm like, "Whatever, man." I was like, "Thanks." You know what I mean? But it kind of got me. That kind of like, a couple weeks later, I was thinking about that conversation. I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't know. Maybe that guy knew what he was seeing. But I really, really started um, the college thing. Like this kid can go play big time football in college. Um, his freshman year, I was stationed at Fort Irwin in California, so I watched his first game his freshman year, and then I had to leave, and I moved out there. And one of the guys come up to me and say, "Hey, Mike's starting as a freshman," and I was like, "What?" I'm like, "For real?" He's like, "Yeah, people don't do that in JC. Like freshmen don't start." So
Yeah,
kind of watching him, and I was like, "Oh, yeah." I kind of had that same feeling as he was in kindergarten. I'm like, "Yeah, he's out there doing it." He's running around making plays, and that's when I really started. I reached out to my old coach in college, and I was like, "Hey, coach, like, tell me what you see." And I started putting out feelers and just trying to validate my thoughts. Because I had been
yeah,
away from football so long, and I always thought I saw the game real well, and like can evaluate some talent, but I didn't want to be biased because it was my own child. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I didn't want my eyes to be deceiving me, and I just wanted somebody else to be like, yeah, he's balling. Even though I'd heard it before, I wanted it from like people that I trust and know.
Yeah. He's I mean he starts receiving interest from the big colleges. When did you see that start kicking up, more than just, Cali County or stuff like that, but when did you see like the big universities start taking an interest for like the recruiting process?
So Mike was different. His situation was different. Now I think he had a he had a banged up sophomore year. His sophomore year he was banged up. Started off, they go play like a little. It's called a jamboree up here in Kansas. It was like a
Yeah.
3 team. They actually went out to Hayes, and it was Jaron Canick's senior year. And I was like, "Hey,
Okay.
dude," I'm like, "You want to be a Division I dude?" I'm like,
That guy
there he
right there.
is. I'm like, he's playing quarterback, you're playing defense. Let's see what it is. Well, he essentially popped his hamstring during warmups, so he was, it kind of set him back. And as soon as he came back, again, he kind of had a little knee. Had one of his best games though as a sophomore, and then he was just kind of dinged up the whole year. So his college Division I attention didn't start till I'd say like the second. No, it wasn't even the second. It was probably the third or fourth game of his senior year. We went down to Wichita, played Bishop Carroll, and he was just running around cracking people. Man, just it was it was actually kind of unbelievable. Like some of the hits he had during that game, and I was just like, man, this dude is flying around. Well, on the way back from that game, that's when Kansas State called. And we went to a game day visit the next day, and he got his first Division I offer, and it kind of just steamrolled after that.
Definitely. I remember in covering, Michael's recruiting process, and the big three were Kansas State, Nebraska, and then, Oklahoma. So you had Kansas State, and, they've got, loads of success themselves. Nebraska, they went on hard times, but, what did it feel like when you saw Oklahoma kind of chime in, and when was that?
Um, I want to say that maybe January after his junior year, so like that right at the start of the second semester. I was at work, and I don't know if I was getting ready to, I was in my truck to go to lunch, or I was up in the office, and he texted me about Oklahoma, and I ran out of the office and got in my truck so I could speak freely. Um, but he's like, Oklahoma just offered me, and I was like, holy, I was like, this is a game changer,
Yeah.
Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, those people, Mizzou, I think had offered before them, but that like went to a different level. You saw like the Twitter engagement, and like the likes was like couple 100,000, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, and a lot of people talk about Nebraska. I don't know if they weren't really on him like most schools. So they were changing over, new regime. They got kind of late, and I don't know what their thought process was, but yeah, they weren't. I don't know. I think they just fell off. They just stopped calling him for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, you wonder why, because, whenever I see, some, the safeties, the defensive backs, I go to the film, and I see, like, does this guy like contact? Does he, possess the ability to have an idea where the ball's at? And so when I saw Boganowski immediately, I was like, hold on a second. Why does Rivals the only one that has him as a 4-star? So no, I mean, he showed out on the film. It was, I mean, it
Yeah.
was amazing watching him.
So I've been told by numerous people, at other outlets, on 24/7 and Rivals, that there was like a plea up to the national guys, like, this dude, you need to get him there. And it just, I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. I
Yeah,
mean, I can see why he doesn't get, it never happened. He's not like he's out in the Kansas City metro area or down in Wichita. We're kind of 2 hours from each
yeah.
one, like right in the middle. So I get it. Do I think it was unfair? Yeah. Was I a little upset about it? For sure, because I thought, I want, what's deserved for him. But,
Yeah.
I got over it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter a little. I guess it does matter, but like, no use in crying over spilled milk. Like, we're moving on.
Yeah.
We're at Oklahoma. I don't think it really bothered him that much. I think it bothered me more than it bothered him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, it's all good because he has these universities looking at him, and, at one point you're like, I mean, yeah, he could be successful here, he could be successful there. Like, you as a parent and mom, like, when you guys drilled down, like, what were the top 3 things that you were really looking for as a parent for your child? Because, I mean, ultimately it's his decision, but what were the 3 big things that, you wanted him to have in a home?
Um, the biggest thing I always said is, like, we're paying attention to people that are paying attention to you. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And, paying the most attention. Like, let's say, for instance, Nebraska. It was kind of hot and cold. Like, I mean, I'm from Nebraska. I grew born and raised there. My whole family was there, and everybody was just not happy with how it happened. And I was
Yeah.
like, it is what it is. But that was the first thing, is, we're paying attention to people that are paying attention to us. Um, 2, when we send our son to your institution in your program, we want to know that he is going to be well taken care of, and you're going to continue to develop him into becoming a man, because he's away from the house, and our touch and our what we can do with him, and we don't have that reach anymore because he's gone. So it was that pay attention to us, continue to develop him as a man, and make him a outstanding young man and a contributor to society. And then, three, it's kind of like there's kind of a program, academics and fit with, within the scheme of the football program. So that's kind of those are our top four. I'm going to give you four. I'm going to overexceed it.
That's all right. That's all right. I like it. I like it. I'm always good for extra insight. So, he gets the offer from Oklahoma. Like, that's a big deal. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you were talking about, like, recruiting advice for people going on visits, was it you that was like, hey man, if you're going on the visit trail, like, take it easy on the food because you will be miserable from eating all the food? I found that was one of the funniest things.
Listen, man, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I put on 15 pounds from January to, like, that end of summer. I was in the Army at the time, so like there's a height and weight standard that you had to adhere to. And I went and I stepped on a scale one day and I was like, what? I had to get right real quick, man. There was some real eating going on, man. And Oklahoma is majorly responsible for that. They're responsible for that.
That's good. That's good. So, commitment time. It comes time to commitment. What did that process look like as far as, like, the conversations with Michael, as far as, like, this is your choice, this is our intel. Like, how did you guys manage that?
I didn't try to interfere too much. I was here to help. I was here to guide. I was here to facilitate. That process. I've been there, done. My time's up. I went to college. I played. I played football. I got recruited. But I was just here to help. I didn't want to influence his decision. I just wanted him to find it his own way, and I was here to help and facilitate that decision. And just get him out there and see as many schools as possible to try to figure out what he liked. Mike's kind of a quiet guy sometimes. You don't really know what he's thinking. So he had always expressed that he wanted to go get away from home. I was like, okay. I mean, I can't fault that. I left Omaha, went to Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I was like, I don't even know if I asked my mom what she thought. You know what I mean? So I was like, I can't fault you. And so, we went and saw schools, and I think as he got out further, going to Washington, in a Michigan, he kind of realized, like, I don't know. This is it'll be kind of a strain, on the family, seeing he's got two little brothers that they'll be playing football as well. So, I just didn't want to interfere. I wanted him to make it his own choice, because I don't want to, like, hey, you need to go here because I said so. I've never been that kind of guy, or that, that parent. But there's some things that are non-negotiables, like playing three sports. But something like this, I don't want to hamstring him, and I just wanted him to make it on his own so that he's happy with it, and he's where he wants to be.
So he commits to Oklahoma. I mean, it was one of the, just as far as, like, social media and the people that, I speak to, and the people that cover the recruiting, like, it was a big deal. It was an absolute big deal. And because he was yet another physical safety that was coming back to Oklahoma, because here recently, that safety room was not a blooming asset for, in the fans' eyes. And, we had guys that were just glue guys who were out there. And so he comes in, you've got Peyton Bowen, Robert Spears Jennings, you've got, Billy Bowman, does that, make it a little bit more comfortable for you to know that, like, man, he's going to have some, shoes to fill and, some leadership to follow as he's going into, a loaded safety room full of absolute just freaks?
Yeah, it always makes you a little more comfortable when, your son is going into a situation where there is some veteran leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Getting thrown into the fire, coming in, and I listened to Mr. Powers earlier this morning, and he said, like, it's an 18-year-old kid getting thrown into the SEC and coming in starting. I was like, that's you're asking for it.
It's a tall task.
Yeah, you're asking for it, man. You're gonna get baptized by fire. There's schools we could have went to where, like Mr. Power said, he could have started right away as a freshman. And I mean,
Yeah,
I get it, but there's a thing to, in my opinion, is learning and being taught the right way instead of, baptism by fire and getting your butt whooped all the time and learning that way. I mean, there's something to be said for it, but I think, setting conditions and getting your body right and getting Schmitty built, getting
yeah,
yourself ready and getting prepared. I think, I was elated when Billy stayed, because I was just like, hey man, I was like, and I mentioned this before, I was like, Mike, you need to be his shadow. Like, you
yeah.
need to learn from him. You need to, like, be all up under him, like watch film, like asking questions. Like, I know you don't like to hear it from me, because I tell him how it is. I know you don't
Mm-hmm.
like to hear it from me. I was like, but you need to be up under him. Like, if there's one thing you hear from me and you take to heart, is like, you have a hell of an opportunity to learn from one of the best safeties in college football. I was like, and you need to make the most of it. But yeah, I was super pumped when he came back. And there's other guys in the room too. Um, that can put stuff on the table, and Mike can soak it up.
So you bring up Reggie Jr. Reggie Powers the third also shows up with Michael.
Mhm.
You know, for me, I mean, I think it's the future Bash brothers. I grew up around Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire,
Yeah,
and I just see these two heavy hitters. I was a Broncos fan, and so Steve
yeah,
Atwater was a humongous, and I already said John Lynch was a guy that, like, I loved, because those guys are hard hitting guys. Go back to Brandon Everidge for the Sooners. Is you think it's an asset for you as a parent, and then obviously the kids to know that you can reach out to Reggie and you guys get to kind of go through this process together for two just high quality safeties?
yeah, yeah. Before I answer that question, I'm like, John Lynch is a Buccaneer. All right, you can't claim him. All right, you can't have him.
I
All
didn't
right,
say I didn't.
you can't have him. All right, he's a Buccaneer. He's a Hall of Famer as a Buccaneer. He's ours. Can't
Yes, he
have him.
is. Yes, he is.
And I think I think we'd be remiss if we didn't, give Jaden Hardy,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, some flowers as well. I heard a lot of Michael Boganowski and Reggie Powers, but Jaden Hardy, he's very familiar, and this is from my son, of course. Jaden's very familiar with the defense, and they ran similar stuff at his high school. So Jaden Hardy come into a camp like, probably a step ahead of Mike and Reggie, like knowing what techniques to play and what coverages and stuff like that. So Jaden's been a big help as well. And, they've been at it since, before they even showed up, being on the phone and talking and, learning, trying to get ahead of the game before they got there. So, we got to give Jaden Hardy, some credit, because, he's a big time. He's a big time. He can cover now. He's a big time safety. But man, I got to decide. What was the question?
is
John Lynch. John Lynch scrambled me.
John Lynch freaked you out? No, listen, I'm a Cardinals fan. Also, Will Clark is not a Cardinal. That's a New York Giant, so or
Yeah,
San Francisco Giant.
yeah,
So no, so I'm going to throw in Hardy too. So you got Hardy, you've got Peyton's a little bit older, but Reggie and Michael all kind of coming in together. Hey, listen, Brent Venables not scared, and neither is Coach Hall to throw out three safeties
yeah.
on the field, especially with the coverage skills that these three guys have. So going through the process together. Do you think that's a big asset for, you as a parent to have other parents to conversate with, but
Oh,
then also, the players to kind of iron sharpens iron?
yeah, for sure. You gotta have competition, right? Competition makes everybody in the team better. So yeah, I do believe it adds an element to the team, and it pushes those older guys too.
Yeah.
Some of those older guys are like, man, these freshmen, running around, popping people and making plays, so it makes them step their game up, and it might make the quarterback step his game up too. He's like, man, I just can't hang this ball out over the middle anymore. I'm going to get somebody hurt.
Yeah.
So he got to tighten up his game and crisper routes by the tight ends and receivers over the middle and stuff like that. So I think it's it pays dividends for sure. I got a good relationship with Mr. Powers. Started on their visit. We were actually at the game, UCF maybe.
UCF. Yeah.
Yeah, UCF, and they were there. We went out to eat. Had a good time. Shout out JP Lossman. He's the man behind the scenes. He had
Yeah.
invited us out, and I'm telling you, it's one of the places I'm talking about. Put 15 pounds on you is that Benvenuti's down
Yep.
there in Norman. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
man, that place is amazing.
Yeah.
Like but yeah, it just adds to the overall culture of the program, and parents and relationships, and making it a family. They
Yeah.
try to you know they don't try, they are doing it, but that's what they like to put that out there, like family, and it's real. It's real.
That's I mean, you're right. I mean, because I think that I was talking to Coach Dent the other, yesterday, and he was like wanting to hook up with other parents for tailgates. So I, reached out and was
I'm
asking a bunch
talking
of
to
folks,
them.
and yeah, I got you guys some information on that. So, all right. So I like this story because this is the kind of parent that I am. But I think that actually Reggie was the one who introduced me to you at the spring game.
Yeah.
So we're sitting under in the tunnel. Everybody's grabbing a beverage, and you're standing, you're facing me, and the TV's behind you. And I said, "Oh, I think Mike just got a personal foul called on him." You didn't even
Yeah.
flinch, turn back, and look at the TV screen. You're like, "Yeah, did you also see the tackle that he missed?" So, you
Yeah.
know, as a parent, you want the best for him, and you know what he's capable of. Like, the early buzz that you're hearing, just the excitement around him, how does that make you feel?
uh I don't want to say it's validation, but I want him to, like we mentioned earlier with, the rankings and all that stuff. Like, he's a big time player, man. Like,
Yeah.
the word freak, I like to say, that for like Danny Okoye, because that dude is a freak in nature. He is a super freak. All right.
Yeah.
When I tell you, he's Rick James, like certified super freak. Right. But Mike, he got discredited and he got looked over, being in Junction City, Kansas. And I just want people to realize that the kid can play football, man. He ain't afraid, and he's a big, strong, athletic kid. And I just want, he's got to go out and earn it still. Like, he ain't at the pinnacle. I don't want to blow his, gas him up too much, but I want him to be great, and I want what's best for him. And I like I said, I played football. I see the game a little bit different than most people.
Yeah.
I even when we were in Columbus, Georgia, he's kindergarten, first grade. Like, he'd go play a game, and I video it all. Like, I was videoing it all. We'd come back from the game and we'd watch the film. We'd sit down and we'd watch it. I don't know if he remembers much of that, but I was always talking to him about angles. Coming to make
Yeah.
tackles and overrunning, and maybe I was doing a little too much, but I was a young man, 20, sure, might have been 30 or 31 maybe. But yeah, I just want what's best for him, and I know what he's capable of, and I don't want him
Yeah.
to underperform.
Yeah. No,
And
that
I've been around, I've been around him. I've missed a lot, being in the Army and going overseas. So sometimes, like, as I got older, and I was like, man, I need to, like, maybe not be so hard on him and praise him, but like in the tunnel at the spring game, that stuff does happen to show itself. And maybe
yeah.
maybe one of those tall boys didn't help, with the inhibitions, and me shooting my mouth off. You know.
I loved it. No, I loved it. That's when I knew that I was like, man, this is going to be a friend, not just a Sooner parent. So you got some games slated to go see in Norman. What games? Because I know that you have young kids, so they're going to have football games on Friday and stuff. So that makes the turnaround a little bit
Yeah.
tougher. But you don't have like a massive plane flight. So what games do you plan on seeing in Norman?
So the original plan was like I'm going to every game, right? Like I just retired from the military. I was gonna take me a little time and like go and I was gonna hook up the travel trailer and get down into the southeast, get back down to the south. But I may have overextended myself in that. Once my youngest kid's schedule come out, and they play Saturday mornings. I was like, okay, a game kind of went, Oklahoma game went away, and then
Yeah.
my middle child Marcus, he's a sophomore, so we're trying to, I'm gonna wait and see, where he's at, if he's playing JV or he's on varsity. But the plan is to go to the one that's going to be really. I plan on going to them all. The Tulane game is going to be difficult because of the start time. I
Yeah.
might get there right at kickoff, but I plan on being there. I think the only one that I know I'm going to miss is the Auburn game. Because my youngest one, Cameron, he's got a game that morning, and I don't know if it's really feasible to get on a plane and be in Auburn, Alabama, by
Yeah.
start time. But yeah, the Texas game is going to be difficult to get to, but I'm going to try my damnedest because that's one. If I get there right after kickoff or sometime like I'm still going to go. Um,
Yeah.
but I just can't see myself missing that. I don't know. I can't see myself sitting in my living room watching that because my wife's
No.
going to be there. That's for sure. So I don't know. But yeah, I plan on all. I think South Carolina, I might miss that one too, just because of start time.
Hey, it's all right. My daughter's trying to become a professional soccer player already, and so I've got that scheduled to deal with. So you can always be texting back and forth with me during the games.
Yeah.
I watch it a little bit differently too. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say here, are you ready for? I asked this question to everybody at the end. Are you ready for a little season prediction? What's your thought process? What do you think the Sooners are going to show up at record wise this year?
I think I it's going to be tough. Like I I think they're gonna do well. Do I think they're being slept on? 100%.
Yeah.
Do I think the national narrative is Oklahoma's offensive line is going to be the weak point of the team? Of course. I mean, they don't know I don't know what they're doing or who their research people are, but Bill Bedenbaugh is that guy. So
Yep.
they better step their game up. But I think it's easy. I think it's easy. Just one person said it, and everybody just kind of regurgitates it. And I don't necessarily see Texas as being as good as everybody's giving them. I,
Yeah.
I I just don't see it. And I'm not going to say that I've never liked Texas, and I've always been a horns down kind of guy. So I mean, I'm trying not to be that Texas guy, but I don't see it. They had a good year last year. I think there's they got fortunate, they got lucky in a couple games. Houston game being one, felt like
Yep.
that quarterback got the first down, and they might have scored. I think they backed their way into the national playoffs. The college football championship series. I feel like I don't know how Georgia. I'm getting distracted here, so I'm trying to think of what I want to say. Um, I think it's going to be tough. I think there's going to be a lot of one-score games. I think there's going to be some field goals that need to be made, and football will punish you if you're not on your game, and it's going to be tough. I go back and forth, but I think 9-3 is where I usually settle on. And I think the first SEC game in Auburn is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Um, I think the Ole Miss game is going to be tough, in one or two of the Alabama LSU games, I think we might get the ball bouncing the wrong way. But I think 9-3. And it's say we get a bad call or something happens. I mean, 8-4 is not the worst thing, and I know Oklahoma fans and everybody is like, that's a disappointment. 8-4, first year in the SEC with that schedule.
Yeah.
Man, let me tell you something. That's a hell of a job. That's my opinion, but
Yeah.
I think 9-3 is very attainable, and a couple bounces in our way, easily 10-2,
Yeah.
and that's just that's I haven't simulated anything like that on the college football game. I just played a couple times with my boys upstairs, but I don't have the patience to sit down and run a whole season anymore.
No, hot take here. As much as I cover recruiting, I absolutely just skip through the whole recruiting thing and start the season over. I just want to play the game. So,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of right there with you. But okay, so now the bonus question here from the audience is
Okay.
there's a running joke about the over under on
Yeah.
personal fouls or penalties for Mike. So again, we don't ever want him to hurt anybody, but telling him not to do what he does, that's going to be tough. So
Yeah.
do you when he gets in, you get his time. If he gets one of those personal fouls because he's just playing tough or playing after the whistle, that we're okay with that. So did you take the over or the under? I think it was it 3.5 or was it 2.5?
I think it was 2.5.
2.5.
I think it was 2.5. I think there's going to be some learning, the speed of the game, and that target area. There's some adjustment there. And now, do I think it's going to be intentional? No,
No.
I don't think he's out there, trying to headhunt, John Lynch style, back in the day, head straight down,
Yeah.
and,
Head
plowing through
straight down.
people.
Yeah.
No, but he's a violent football player. He's always been that way. So I think there's going to be some. Now, I'm probably taking the under, and I think it's going to be 2. I think it's going
Getting
to be
to
2, just because there's an adjustment. There's an adjustment. Like, he's getting used to the practice speeds of the game in the SEC, but come game day, it's even faster.
yeah.
So he's going to have to adjust. People running routes and processing. Where the ball is, where the receiver is, and taking the right angle, and then not only just making a tackle, but in that target area, and not be up in the head and neck area with his helmet. So I think
Yeah.
there's some adjustments and some learning. So I think there's going to be a couple. Hopefully not, but I don't remember who it was. Was it PG or somebody else said over, and it was some like my son showed it to me actually. My middle son showed it to me, and
It's he's one of the content creators,
yeah,
favorite players, and I think it was that spring game hit, and then obviously watching his film. But yeah, we all kind of there. Yeah, no, I personally think you mentioned Danny Okoye, and I might
mhm.
shoot him that clip of you calling him a freak too, because he's getting popular right now. A lot of people are kind of catching on, but it almost doesn't seem fair for the first 3 weeks and maybe that main game that Oklahoma comes out, they are going to be using you as a practice dummy, getting ready for Tennessee. And then when you finally take a breath, you roll out Mike, Danny Okoye, Lewis Carter, guys like that, guys who have been waiting for now want to go thump. So I just sorry Temple, Houston, Tulane. JP Losman was a Tulane guy, so I know he doesn't want us hurting his alma mater there, but it's I'm excited to see. I think from top to bottom this entire roster this year, and I know that you kind of feel the same.
And, I've been around Okoye. I do feel the same, but I've been around Okoye a couple times. And some extended time up in the office with Coach Hall and Coach Bates. My youngest son Cameron, like that's his main dude, man. He loves him some Danny Okoye. But we were at the U.S. Army Bowl
Yeah,
last December, and Okoye was on the other team, and dude, he just wrecked shop, man. They couldn't block him. He was out there strip sacking, just it was ridiculous. That dude is, he's fast, man. He's good. He's big. He's long. What else can you want
Yeah.
just twitchy? Come on, that's almost unfair, like a dude like that. And I'm glad he chose Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'm pumped about that. I think that his ceiling is it's up there,
It's pretty,
man. It's
it's
not too
pretty
many
high.
ceilings that high. Yeah, there's not too many on Oklahoma for sure.
And I told him when I was at his commitment, like, I don't even think he fully understands really what his capabilities are. Cause it's like he's had to play like somewhat, contained, with the homeschool stuff. So yeah, we've got
Yeah,
guys up and down the roster that are like that. So it's a fun time. So, man, Mike, I appreciate you joining here. And again, I appreciate you for your service. Thank you for your service to our country. Um,
well,
Man, I wanted to do these because these conversations, get a chance to show everybody again, who's behind these players, who's behind these guys, and the family aspect of things. So, man, thanks for coming on.
let me add something on there. I think this is a great thing too. And I have this conversation with Coach Bates and Coach Chavis a lot. How fortunate I feel like coming to Oklahoma and being around them. And I tell them this story, and this is for all the prospects and recruits' parents. Because when I first showed up there, they laid it on, and they I was talking about family, and it was different, and it wasn't like anywhere else, and I was kind of like taken aback. I'm like, man, this almost seems fake and not genuine.
Yeah,
But if you feel that like I did, on your first elite junior day or something like that, just know that it's real. Just know that they are that way all the time, and it hasn't stopped, and it probably won't stop. But just know that they are real, and everything that you're feeling about that togetherness and that family and that bond, it's real. The soul mission is real, and I would not hesitate to send your son to Coach Venables in the Oklahoma Sooners, because they're going to do right by him. And
man.
you see some other things out in college football, but rest assured that they're going to take care of your child, and that's the place for your child.
And I think a previous dad said, it's not a pitch. It's their way of life. It's who they are. And
I'm telling you, I was just kind of like, man, we'd been a couple places, and I'm dragging this on, but we'd been a couple places, and it was different. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that Oklahoma, that junior day, I was just like, man, this is different. I was like, I
hmm
like it, but you always go into recruiting, and your first interaction with coaches is your guards up.
yeah,
You're looking for the BS. You're looking for and it just it takes you a while to I'm familiar with this person,
yeah,
and it's a real thing at Oklahoma, man, and I would advise, I think it's a big mistake if you choose anywhere else. And I think they're competing with NIL, and everybody's financial situations aren't the same, but I think if a lot of these kids are making their college decision based on NILs, they're not gonna be as happy as probably if they choose somewhere for the right reasons. It's
yeah,
being development in football. Money comes and goes. You can't. But like I said, not everybody's situation, financials, is the same, and you know, some people are less fortunate than others. So I think that
yeah,
choosing the school for the right reason and not just NIL. There's something to be said about that. And one of the things I like too was Dominic Williams, when after he committed, what he tweeted. I was like, that's amazing. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I just thought it was an amazing time for college football, and it just showed you that there's still some people out there, looking for the right reasons to go somewhere.
Yeah, and I may add is Oklahoma plays the ball game NIL wise with the
Have to,
best of them too. Yeah,
have to.
absolutely. It's not you're not coming here for free. You're going to get yours, and with the production that is about to start happening, BB had a clean house. He had to completely clean house, and that was not just a physical terminology. I mean, it was a mental terminology too. There was he had to bring a different mindset. And so I watched these guys work for each other. And, again, like Billy Bowman, taking these safeties underneath his wing, trying to press them to be something better. Hearing a lot of the leadership out of Jacob Sexton, on the offensive line. It's again, like I said, I do sales for a living, and it's hard. I've had customers in the past where I was like, man, I really don't want these people to be successful. So it's easy to go out and to bring to light the greatness of a program that truly is great.
Yeah. BB he's a leader of men, and he is I like I said, I feel blessed and very fortunate that my son is in his program, and I can't express it enough, and it's an amazing feeling, and I'm totally comfortable. I don't have to worry about Mike, you know what I mean? I don't have to worry about him down there. I know he's taken care of, and he's got people looking after him and instilling discipline on him when he needs it, and that tough love. So I'm over the moon about Oklahoma, and I cannot wait to get back down to Norman and watch some football, man. I'm like just looking every day, just trying to figure it out, man. Like I might have to come down to one of these practices and scratch that itch, that football itch that I need. So yeah.
It's like I've never identified with that meme of the guy just sitting and waiting in different areas more than I do this year. So I'm definitely excited. So again, guys, thanks for hopping in here today inside the Sooner family. This has been an absolute honor and a pleasure for me to be able to do this with some of these parents and just hear their hearts and hear the advocacy that you just shared. And so hop down in the comments, let us know what you thought about it. Share this with other Sooner fans because they want to, this proves that, what we hear, it is absolutely legitimate. So Mike, again, you started with a little hand signal, and do you think I can? There we go. So again, guys, appreciate y'all pulling up. Mike, again, thank you, sir.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.